My dear students, today I am going to discuss rules to ask questions starting with the word how. Under Learn English through Tamil Foundation course. I am Dr.R.G is taking class for you. Vetri welcomes you all. My dear students, we know normally the sentences we can classify broadly into four types. One, simple sentences. Two, interrogative sentences. Three, imperative sentences. And exclamatory sentences. Here, interrogative sentences are normally used to raise questions. So let me explain the interrogative sentence here. A sentence that asks a question is called an interrogative sentence. Normally, we are using the following types to ask questions. One is WH questions, normally we are using. Number two, yes or no questions. That means when we raise the questions, the answer will be yes or no, and further reply will be there. And lastly, tag questions. Tag question means we will use a simple sentence, positive or negative, then we will raise the questions. So these are the three ways we can raise questions. Now, under the interrogative sentence, WH questions are questions that begin with the word that typically start with WH. They are used to gather information about a specific topic. Important WH words used to ask questions are, kindly follow, what, when, where, which, who, whom, whose, why, and how. Out of these 9, the first 8 is directly having the first letter W, second letter H. Whereas in the case of last one, 9th, how, the interchanging the position. H first, O, W, W the last one. So these you must have in mind. Now, continuation of regarding interrogative sentences. Each WH questions word serves a specific purpose and helps to elicit detailed information. They are fundamental in both written and spoken communication for clarifying and understanding and obtaining necessary details. So, here, how question is normally used to know way, manner, and form. So to understand, to know way, manner, and form, normally we raise question using how. Coming for the rules. Actually, I am giving in the form of 4 rules. The first two rules normally is not applicable in the case of WH questions. That is, WH, that is how plus main verb plus subject is rarely possible. How plus subject plus main verb is rarely possible. So, the remaining third and fourth only normally possible we can use. What is that? How plus auxiliary verb. Here auxiliary verb will act as a main verb as well as a helping verb. Plus subject is very common. A simple example, I am asking, raising a question, how are you? நீ எப்படி இருக்கிறாய்? How are you? So, are here is an auxiliary verb acting as a main verb. Kindly follow. The same way, the fourth type, How plus auxiliary verbs as helping verb plus subject and main verb is common. Here I can give example. How are you preparing for your IAS exam? So, how are you preparing? So, here main verb prepare. Prepare is the main verb and it is coming in the gerund form, that is preparing. So, are is the auxiliary. So, how are you preparing for your IAS exam? உன்னுடைய ஐஏஎஸ் பரீட்சைக்கு நீ எவ்வாறு முயற்சி எடுத்துக் கொண்டிருக்கிறாய், ப்ரிப்பேர் செய்து கொண்டிருக்கிறாய். In English, normally when asking a question, we usually need to include an auxiliary verb. Please follow. Like do or are, but not main verb like walk, run, etc. Please follow. This is applicable for WH questions. WH interrogative questions, we have to use auxiliary verb. Main verb we could not use. Now, so here I am going to explain by taking auxiliary verb is. So let me give a short introduction. What is auxiliary verbs? So verb can be classified into 5 types. Kindly verify from my previous chapters. So one of the classification is main and auxiliary. Auxiliary verb means we can further classify into be verbs, do verbs, has verbs, will verb, and would. So there are 5 types of verbs are there. Under the be verbs, we have am, is, are, was, were. Under the do verbs auxiliary, do, does, did, positive. Has, have, had. The next, will, shall, may, can. That is the 4th type. And last type, would, should, could, might. So these are the 5 types of auxiliary verbs. So under these 5 types, the first 3 types I will call it as primary auxiliary. It is called primary auxiliary. These 2 are called secondary auxiliary. Secondary auxiliaries normally is also known as modal verb. So one important information I want to give, please students have it in mind. When you use auxiliary verbs, the first 3 type primary auxiliary verb will act as a main as well as auxiliary verb, helping verb. Whereas the secondary auxiliary will not act as a main verb. Please remember this. Will not come separately. Shall, can, may will not come separately. Whereas is will come separately, main verb, or was, where they will come separately, main verb. This is the main difference you must understand. So now let me start with the is auxiliary verb. So here in the examples you can see wherever it is, sometimes it will acting as a main verb, sometimes it will acting as an auxiliary verb. The sentence, first sentence, how is the sky blue during the day? How is the sky blue during the day? Here is auxiliary verb acting as a main verb. Number 2, how is water considered a universal solvent? So here, main verb consider. Consider is the main verb. Kindly follow. Then in that ed added. Past participle. So main here consider and helping verb is. So how is water considered a universal solvent? How is photosynthesis important for plant? Here auxiliary verb is acting as a main verb. How is the earth's core hot? The auxiliary verb is acting as a main verb. How is biodiversity important to ecosystem? Ecosystem is auxiliary acting as a main verb. 5 more sentences now. How is recycling beneficial for environment? Is acting as a main verb. How is the moon sometimes visible during the day? Is acting as a main verb, auxiliary verb. How is a balanced diet important for health? Is the auxiliary verb acting as a main verb. How is a balanced diet important for health? Is auxiliary acting as a main verb. How is physical exercise important for body? Is main verb. How is the scientific method important to experiments? So it is acting as a main verb. Kindly follow. Next one. Next, I will use or as a auxiliary verb. I will give sentences. The first sentence here, just see here, how plus auxiliary verb. How are the planets round? Or auxiliary main verb, acting as a main. How are oceans salty? Or auxiliary acting as a main verb. How are plants green? Or auxiliary verb acting as a main verb. How are some metals more reactive? Or auxiliary verb acting as a main verb. How are fossil important for understanding Earth's history? Or auxiliary verb acting as a main verb. Now, some more sentences. How are renewable energy sources considered better for the environment? Please follow. How are renewable energy sources considered better for the environment? Consider main verb, then or auxiliary verb, helping verb. Please follow. How are balanced diets important for health? So are acting as a main verb. How are bees important to agriculture? How are languages so diverse around the world? Or auxiliary verb acting as a main verb. How are the stars, some stars, brighter than others? Or auxiliary verb acting as a main verb. Please follow. Now the next verb I will use now. The past tense is, past tense was, I am going to use now. How was the periodic table developed? Please follow. Develop main verb, was auxiliary helping verb. How was periodic table developed? How was the Great Wall of China built? Built main verb was auxiliary. How was the airplane invented? Invented main verb was auxiliary. How was the printing press significant? Was acting as a main verb. How was Mahatma Gandhi important to India's independence? Was auxiliary verb acting as the main verb. Here, some more 5 sentences based on was. How was the computer invented? Invented main verb, was auxiliary. How was the wheel invented? Invented main verb, was auxiliary verb, acting as a auxiliary. How was the pyramid Giza built? Built is the main verb, was auxiliary. How was the theory of revolution controversial? Was auxiliary verb acting as a main verb. How was Nelson Mandela significant in South Africa? So, was acting as a main verb. The next one, for are the past tense were. So, here I will use sentences using were. How were the pyramids of Egypt built? Built main verb, then were auxiliary verb. How were the Middle Ages called Dark Ages? Called main verb, were auxiliary. How were the Wright brothers interested in flying? Interested main verb, were auxiliary. How were dinosaurs extinct? Extinct main verb, were auxiliary. How were the Articles of Confederation replaced? Replaced with the Constitution. Replaced main verb, were auxiliary verb, acting as the auxiliary verb, were. Now, next one. How were national parks created in the US? Created main verb, were auxiliary. How were many kings important in history? How were many kings important in history? Here there is no main verb, so auxiliary verb were is acting as a main verb. How were the crusaders fought? Fought main verb, were auxiliary. How were ancient Greek philosophers influential in Western thought? So here, were acting as a main verb. The next one. How were the 19th century significant for civil movements in the United States? Here, auxiliary verb were acting as a main verb. So, I have used in the be verbs present as well as past tense using how I have given examples. So, in the example you have seen sometimes the auxiliary verb coming as a main verb, sometimes the auxiliary verb coming as a helping verbs. So, thank you very much for your kind cooperation. See you again in my next class. Bye bye, Dr. G.